Hi, I'm Linda, and I am doing this video as a quick explanation by popular demand of just what's been going on with my son Ty, who has food protein-induced enterocolitis syndrome. We are a family of four. My name is Linda. My wife is Michelle. We have a 2.5-year-old son named Max and an almost 1-year-old son named Ty. And Ty has FPIES. The way FPIES works is it's a food allergy disorder. It is pretty rare, but and it can present itself in completely different ways depending on each child that has it. We came upon Ty's diagnosis through months of nearly failure to thrive when he was an infant, having really bad GI issues with my milk as a little older infant. And finally, through elimination diets, we figured out that we thought Ty had a milk and soy protein intolerance because he was reacting to milk and soy through my milk. But then once he started solids at 6 months, it became pretty clear that there was more than just milk and soy. He had a reaction to egg. He's reacted several times to rice. And ultimately, about a month ago, he received the official diagnosis from an allergist that he does have food protein-induced enterocolitis syndrome, which basically means certain proteins just don't agree with his system, and his body will try to reject them by vomiting, diarrhea. Sometimes he'll get a little bit of a rash on his face, but most of the time we see really severe vomiting to the point that he could even vomit into shock, which has happened, and he ended up having to ride in an ambulance to the ER. It all sounds really scary. It is really scary, and we've done a lot of just posts on our Facebook and talked about it a little bit here and there, but because we didn't have a really strong understanding of what was going on and how this disorder works, we felt a little odd talking a lot about it because I didn't want to put wrong information out there. I didn't want to talk about things that my son was going through and then realize that that was a fluke or that was just a stomach bug or something like that. We really wanted to have a little bit more of an understanding before we started sharing information with the world or just our Facebook families or our community in whatever sense that turns into. So this week has been a big week for us. We had our first appointment on Tuesday morning with his new GI specialist at Vanderbilt in Nashville. We live in Knoxville, Tennessee, so it was about a 3-hour drive. We went over the night before and stayed in a hotel. For what we received, which was amazing care and meeting a really incredible doctor, that trip was nothing compared to the tons of information that we got and knowledge and confidence and a second opinion on his diagnosis. So the trip was well worth it. We found that doctor through the FPIESfoundation.org website, and our local pediatric nurse practitioner, who both of our boys have seen their whole lives, has been amazing to work with. So she sent the referral over and got us in with some great doctors. So we saw her on Tuesday and met with her dietitian, who was also incredible and gave us some really hopeful information about trying new foods with Ty. And we came back home Tuesday afternoon and have been kind of just back in the trenches of FPIES since then. When Ty is exposed to certain foods, he goes into that vomiting reaction, which, like I said, can result in shock. So we have been really wary about introducing new foods to him until we saw that doctor, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't sending him into this shock/GI inflammation state for no reason, and if in any way we could prevent it by hopefully introducing foods that were as far away from molecularly or as the protein is shaped from foods that he had reacted to before, to hopefully get some good nutrition in his belly without flaring him up again. So at this point, he'll be 11 months old next week. He has a handful of safe foods, and he also is breastfed. I cannot eat milk, soy, or egg because he reacts to those 3 triggers through my milk. However, he also reacts to rice and now quinoa, and those 2 triggers he has not reacted to through my milk. So I do still eat those 2 things, but he cannot have them directly. Our household is dairy and egg and soy free because so far those have been his biggest triggers, and since 50% of the family can't eat those things, we have decided to just completely remove them from the household altogether. Ty also has a traditional allergy, which means his mouth swells, he gets a rash, and he could eventually at some point have anaphylaxis to egg. So egg is a really important one that we don't have in our house at all because that would be a way more immediate emergency situation if he were to pick up a piece of egg off the floor, if his brother were eating and spilled it, or get a crumb of a muffin that was made with egg. So we just completely eliminated egg from our household as well as soy and dairy. So this week we spoke with that dietitian at the new doctor's office, and she told us that she recommends us trying quinoa because quinoa grows very differently and is kind of it's a grain, but it's kind of on the opposite side of how rice is. So since he reacted to rice, she thought we should go the complete opposite direction and try a completely different kind of grain to hopefully get some kind of grain in his diet that is not going to trigger him. We got really excited. They make quinoa in a cereal for infants that's iron fortified, which that's something that we're really looking for his diet right now, is a source of iron because most of his safe foods are just fruits and vegetables. So we got really excited about quinoa. I even jumped the gun and ordered some of that cereal on Amazon just because I was so excited that we may have an iron option for him. But we trialed quinoa last night, and 2 hours later he woke up upset, which he is a very happy baby and does not typically wake up upset. And then he vomited once, and then he was extremely lethargic and had bad gas. His stomach just kind of rolled. He refluxed and has had diarrhea since then. So all of those, any of those individually in an FPIES child would be considered a fail for that food, but he had all of them. So there's no question in our mind whatsoever that he failed that food. So what that means is that now we will not try quinoa for 18 to 24 months. That food needs to stay out of all of anything in his diet because we want to let his body heal from that reaction and completely build up a tolerance to that particular food. FPIES works differently than traditional allergies, and with traditional allergies there can be immunotherapy where baby receives little bits of the food that they're allergic to until their body builds up a tolerance to it. FPIES is the opposite. You want to avoid anything that's triggering your child as much as possible to allow their body to heal, because lots and lots of minor triggers flares their intestines to the point that their safe foods might even become irritating. And you don't want to lose their safe foods because as much nutrition as they can possibly get is really vital to these kids because they can have a hard time growing and they can have kind of incomplete diets if you can't eat greens or you can't have grain or meat, or you don't have a good protein source. It can be really stressful on their body. So our choice is that we have decided, since he reacted to quinoa, we're giving him about 24 hours with nothing but breast milk. It's called gut rest. We're just going to let his body recover from that reaction. He basically felt like he had a really bad stomach bug. And in a few days, whenever we feel like, he's completely back to normal, we're going to follow his cues 100%. If he's not having diarrhea, he's not refluxing, he's not having gas, his belly seems to be fine, he's acting normal, then we'll trial a new food once we feel like he's ready. I think what we're going to trial next is probably pork. I'm going to make a pork broth and maybe put that into a food that's already safe for him, like applesauce, as gross as that sounds, or sweet potato, because those are both safes for him. We'll go ahead and trial pork in a few days and just see how that goes as well. Right now, Ty's safe foods are apples and pears. He's had 3 different kinds of citrus. He's had oranges, grapefruit and lemon, which he surprisingly really, really liked lemon. I'm not going to let him eat a ton of lemon because I feel like that would tear up anybody's belly. And he has responded great with all the citrus. So he's got apples, pears, citrus, sweet potato, squash, white beans. So far, I think that's about it for his safes. Green beans, which he loves to eat canned green beans that are soft because he can pick them up and put them in his mouth. Because most of his safes he's consuming as puree, and puree gets really old with a baby that's so close to 1 year old that really wants to feed themselves. Puree can get really kind of boring to them. They can also develop oral aversion to different textures. So we try to keep textures in his diet as much as possible so that he doesn't think that all food comes in puree mush form and then not want to eat solids one day when, he's beyond the stage of needing to have a puree diet. So those are his safes right now. Like I said, we're just kind of experimenting until we can find a good iron, protein, and fat source for him. My camera died and my lighting changed, so I'm coming back just to kind of finish up this first initial video. Basically what I was going over are some of the options that we have for food for Ty, which hopefully you guys will get to see because I plan to video document or vlog our lives with FPIES. You'll eventually, through these videos, get to meet both of my boys. Ty is asleep and Max is at Mother's Day out right now, so they are not in this video right now. You will get to meet my wife, who is at work right now, so that's why she's not in this video. And we hope to share these videos with you guys so that you can see kind of our lives with FPIES, and hopefully that it will reach other families with FPIES, just to give hope and encouragement, because through every fail, we basically learn a little bit more about how FPIES works. So a fail is not necessarily the end of the world. It's sad and frustrating at the time, but it opens up that whole world of understanding. For now, we understand why Ty has reacted certain ways. When he was an infant, before he could, eat foods directly, we didn't know why his body responded certain ways through my milk. And now we get that because we understand how he responds directly to dairy or soy or egg or whatever it was that I was eating at that time. So I want to share our wins and our losses and our successes and our journey with you guys because it can be exciting and it can also be scary, and there's just so much to learn. So for every FPIES child that is documented, that there are records of, that there's a history and some knowledge is gained, that child can help another parent somewhere learn what might help their kid. So that's why these videos are here, to hopefully help anybody who has any questions about the way this works, hopefully find diagnoses faster for young infants that are struggling with food, and to just give parents hope that it doesn't have to be so scary. And in those times that it is rough, that there are just as many ups as there are downs, and to look at your kids and realize that they're happy just learning about, all these new textures and foods and things like that, and they are fighters and they bounce back, and they are so much stronger than we oftentimes give infants and children credit for. So we're going to be sharing videos along our journey. I'd like to post videos of me making foods for Ty, how our kitchen is kind of set up to make sure that things are safe for him. Can't wait to share celebrations of safes with you guys, but I'll also share updates when we have fails like we had last night, and that's all okay. And I hope you guys are down for the journey, and I'm excited to share it with you all and come back for more.